David Silberklang is a senior historian at Yad Vashem's International Institute for Holocaust Research in Jerusalem. Silberklang recently welcomed U.S. Vice President Mike Pence to Yad Vashem, Israel's main center for Holocaust education. I met with Silberklang at his office for an exclusive interview about the Pence visit and what Yad Vashem is doing to reach more audiences around the world, especially in Iran. David Silberklang, senior historian here at Yad Vashem, thank you very much for speaking to Voice of America today.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
David, you were one of the guides of U.S. Vice President Mike Pence when he came here to Yad Vashem. What reflections can you share of that visit of the Vice President?
Well, I can say a couple of things. First of all, it's impressive that the Vice President actually wanted to come. He's been here before in earlier capacities, and it had been suggested to him, maybe you want to see some other part of Yad Vashem, you've seen it, and he said, no, I think the historical museum and learning the story is important, and I want to go back over there, even though he'd been there a number of years ago. And we took him in, and we began actually at the section that addresses Auschwitz, which is significant because, after all, he was visiting only a few days before the International Holocaust Memorial Day, January 27th, which marks the day of the liberation of Auschwitz. And I must say that the Vice President and his wife Karen were very engaged, very focused and interested, and certainly interacting and reacting to the various things they saw in the museum and all around when we walked around Yad Vashem.
Were there any particular comments that the Vice President or his wife made that you think were particularly noteworthy?
Well, they were particularly struck first by the Auschwitz album, which is an album that SS photographers put together in the camp in May of 1944 with the arrival of a couple of trains from Hungary. And it was discovered by a survivor from that train, by coincidence, in a different camp at Liberation. And that survivor, Lily Jacob, donated it to Yad Vashem. And as we talked about that and talked about highlighting the names of the people that we try to discover who they were, and we've discovered several hundred out of the thousands that are in the pictures, they were quite struck by that, and that each of those individuals is a world unto herself or himself, and how that's driven home in the museum.
Well, you made a reference to International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is in January 27th. What is Yad Vashem doing to mark that occasion this year?
Well, we have lots of events going on. Today we opened up a new temporary exhibit about photography during the Holocaust, looking at German photography and Jewish clandestine photography and the stories that they tell. We have various educational events and public events going on here that already began a few days ago and will carry through into next week. It's too long a list, actually, to give you it all, but there's a lot that goes on here every year.
How would you say efforts to promote Holocaust awareness around the world are going today? What is the state of that enterprise that Yad Vashem is so involved with?
Well, I would say on the one hand, there's far more awareness and far more educational and research activity going on and commemorative activity around the world about the Holocaust than ever before. Yad Vashem sends a number of people as part of Israel's delegation to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which is an international organization with 31 member countries, and it is growing. We'll have 2 new members within a year or two, who are all committed to Holocaust commemoration, education, and research, and Yad Vashem's staff and who are there and other delegations play a major role in that. So on the one hand, there's a lot going on. But on the other hand, there are places where even if there's a lot of educational activity, it seems that it doesn't always sink in, even just the bare facts. What do people know about the subject? And that's a sign that there's still a lot more to do.
Well, you're a very senior historian. How would you say, what parts of the world would you say are lacking the historical knowledge that we have here in Israel in terms of the Holocaust and what happened?
Well, we can always learn more, even where you know a great deal. The greatest historians who knew so much could always learn more, of course. But I would say that in certainly all over the Middle East and much of North Africa, there are places where people don't know. There are places where the knowledge of the Holocaust is intertwined with all sorts of national memories that have a different narrative, and that shunts the Holocaust off to the side, or turns around its significance from the horrors of the worst genocide in modern history or the most extensive in modern history, to something else that deals with the Cold War or who knows what. So that I think there are many places in this part of the world where we're sitting, in other parts of Asia, and certainly in Europe, and even in the Americas, where although there is some knowledge, there are actually huge gaps. And I would emphasize this part of the world.
Is Yad Vashem doing anything in particular to help people in those countries where the historical awareness is not so good to better understand what happened in the Holocaust?
Yad Vashem is engaged in a great deal of activities to try to reach out to a wide array of audiences in many languages and cultures. We have educational materials in many languages on all levels of education. We have, and our website has been translated both in terms of language and in terms of culture. That is, not only the words are translated, but the cultural understandings in each society. How do they read and understand things? Of important information about the Holocaust, as well as educational materials. We have a website in Farsi, we have a website in Arabic, we have a website in Russian, and French, and many other languages. And the idea is to try to reach as wide an audience of millions of people as possible, and through those people to reach more, because of course among those people are mainly general audience, but also people who are teachers on various levels who will use some of the tools that we can provide in their own language, and then they will reach more people.
Well, what can you share? You mentioned the Farsi language. What can you tell us about how your efforts have been received by people in Iran, where that is the main language?
Well, we actually we know that there are people in Iran looking at the website. We can, you can tell where they're coming from, and we have had contact from Iranians who have expressed interest, who have wanted to get more materials, who have just thanked us for the information. We might occasionally get, whether from Iran or anywhere else, someone who will attack us or deny the Holocaust or something, but that's not really the main thing that we're getting. The main thing that we're getting, and from Iran in particular, is appreciation and requests for information, additional information.
How concerning is it to Yad Vashem that for years now you've had leaders in Iran who either deny the Holocaust outright and call it a myth, or who minimize it and sort of question whether everything that is said that happened, all the killings of 6 million Jews and so on, whether that really happened or whether it was on a much smaller scale?
Well, the whole thing, this denial in Iran, which is part of or connected to a larger anti-Semitic attack on Jews in general all over the world, through the attack on Israel and the attack on Zionism, and saying the Jews are all Zionists and the Zionists have somehow told the world a lie and all that. It's outrageous. I mean, they lie to their people, they lie to the world, and when you lie about basic historical facts that have such immense significance and immense capacity to end up causing murder, or if you study it well enough, maybe we can learn how to stop murder, then it's something really remarkably dangerous. And Yad Vashem, along with many others, of course, were deeply concerned by that, and can only hope for a time when such people are not in government, or at least the people in government somehow begin to tell the truth.
What signs do you see that there are of any people in leadership positions in Iran that actually are getting the message about the Holocaust and how it shouldn't be minimized or denied? Well,
actually, in terms of government, I don't see it. In terms of people, we do see it, and that's through those who go into the website and those who react to the website in various ways. And we see that there is something going on, then not everybody believes everything the government is selling them also. There are a lot of people in Iran who aren't just buying what the government sells. Any government has tremendous power and influence over the people because they can control media. And in a country that controls the media like Iran does, very controlled, then people can become convinced of things. But despite that governmental power and influence, we see that there are people who are open to actually learn the truth and open to interact with Israelis or with anybody. And that's where the promise lies, that there is someone to talk to out there, lots of people to talk to out there, that we can reach out to and they can reach out to us and we can have a dialogue. And maybe if we all learn together, we, and everyone else in the world, enough about the Holocaust, then we collectively can prevent such things from happening again.
Well, David Silberklang, senior historian here at Yad Vashem, good luck with that dialogue, and thanks for speaking to Voice of America.
Thank you.